I was Bulgarian prison. We were locked in our cells and never mixed with other prisoners. There was nothing to do except to talk and smoke. I don't smoke and I'm very sensitive to cigarette smoke. The only opening inside or out was a small hatch in the window about the size of a large phone. This provided very little ventilation. The room was constantly filled with smoke. Prisoners were allowed nearly unlimited cigarettes as it kept them calm, and the other 3 prisoners smoked nearly non-stop. The cell was so small that only one person could stand up and move around at a time. If more than one person stood up, everyone had to remain stationary. How does one make a bed with the items provided in Bulgarian prison? I didn't know. Thankfully, Vardo made the bed for me and showed me how. It was more like a nest in hell than a bed, but it was the best that could be made of the materials I had. The pillow was incredibly disgusting. When new it was white with blue stripes, now it is nearly completely black and even the stripes could barely be discerned. No pillowcase was provided, so I used a shirt as a pillowcase. The beds were old military-style beds made of metal straps. Mine, like the others, was severely broken. Straps were missing and the welds were broken. With a flimsy cushion, this created huge holes and made sleeping very painful. One had to sleep until the pain got too bad and then reposition to sacrifice a different body part. I developed sores and bruises all over my body. The floor would have been better, but there was no space to sleep on the floor. The other prisoners had better beds because their families had sent them each several yoga mats and air mattresses which they layered on the beds. No toilet paper, toothbrushes, or razors were provided. One needed to plan ahead or improvise. These and other items could be purchased in a prison store, but there was a bureaucratic catch that even the IRS would be proud of. The store was open only once or twice a month, and you needed money in a special account. And even if you had money, you couldn't use it. Money could only be deposited by people on the outside. The paper of rules I signed said that prisoners could earn money for toiletries and good behavior, but I had to poop before that happened. And the prisoners said that this didn't actually happen due to budget cuts anyways. Fortunately, my cellmates were extremely kind people. I was constantly amazed at their generosity and how they shared everything. I found the same level of kindness in prisoners I met in prison vehicles, other prisons, and holding cells. We were locked in our cell 23 hours a day. I had assumed there was a common area in a prison yard and that our cell was just for sleeping, but like many things in Bulgarian prison, my assumptions were drastically incorrect. 23 hours a day in a cell designed for 2, but a double capacity of 4, made for extremely tight quarters. The 1 hour per day we were allowed out was to go walking, as Ivica described it. I was optimistic about this, walking. But as before, I was disappointed when I found out the details. Going walking was often worse than staying in the cell. We even had to eat in our cell. The paper I signed declared all sorts of rights that prisoners had, but none of them mattered. In fact, I wish I had that paper to use for defecation duties, since we weren't given toilet paper either. The paper I had to sign was merely a formality so the Bulgarian government could pretend to be abiding by EU regulations. We were only given 2 small meals per day, despite the law requiring 3. Meals were served in a small metal bowl about the size of a 10-ounce cat dish, less than a Coke can. Most times the bowls came only half filled. The only beverage came from the sink, except for the tiny glass of fruit compote twice a week. At dinner we were offered extra food, but we had to scoop it out and store it in old containers. Everyone refused the bonus because of how nasty it was. The bonus was paint, Bulgarian Play-Doh, or craft paste. The dried up yellow paint was margarine. As an after-dinner treat, margarine sucks. The salted Bulgarian Play-Doh is said to be cheese, but I'm quite doubtful. The kindergarten craft paste stuff I called Magic Mac. It was shredded pasta the size of rice mixed with a little sugar. What saved us from starvation was a medium-sized loaf of bread each day that every prisoner received. The bread was either several days old or was cooked and quite hard. I was surprised they gave us the bread because the crust was so hard that it posed the danger of prisoners using it as clubs on the guards. And then the roaches. But that's a story for another day. Check out my Interpol Arrest playlist for more.